Welcome to the Rise of the Trades podcast, the show dedicated to helping you to build, grow, and scale your trades or construction business. All rise for your host, Craig Wilkinson.
Welcome to this week's coaching episode of the Rise of the Trades podcast, where we help trades and construction business owners to skyrocket leads, explode net profits without having to graft 60 hours a week and becoming that busy fool. In this episode, I'm going to be teaching you why you must put up your prices before even considering taking on the next member of staff to grow your trades or construction business. But before we go there, I'd just like to remind you that the doors are now open for you to apply to join my next inner circle, which is my 12-month marketing and business coaching program, where I guarantee to grow your business by a minimum of 100%. If you're a trades business owner and your turnover is £150,000 or more, please consider applying to join our inner circle by clicking on the link in the show notes and the description of this episode. Now, let's transition over to this week's coaching. I want to start off by giving John Howden from Yorkshire Heating and Renewables a shout out for inspiring this particular episode right now, because last week I had a phone conversation with John, and the reason why I'm having a chat with him is John's joined our growth club. We've just rebranded his business. We've just built him an all-new singing, all dancing website. We've just set him up on ServiceMate to systemise his plumbing, heating and renewables business. And he contacted me saying, Craig, it's all working. I've got leads coming out of my ears, right? I need to take on more staff, but where am I going to find them? Because as we know, there's a shortage of labour. And I'm like, John, you don't want to take any more staff. He's like, yeah, but I've got all the leads. They're coming in. I don't want to turn work down. I'm like, yeah, but we've not maximised profitability yet. And when I explained to John what we meant by exploding profitability and increasing your prices to maximise that before we start taking on a more team, the penny dropped with John and he went, do you know what? I never thought of it like that. You're right. So given the fact that John were in this position, I've been in this position and made these mistakes over years, and I know that just about every one of my inner circle members, when they join me, have done the same. That's what's inspired this episode. So John, thank you. Now, the first thing I want to touch on as we get stuck into this powerful episode is this. There are 3 stages to business growth in growing and scaling your trades or construction business. These 3 stages are as follows, so write these down, make some notes. Number 1 is what I call survival stage. And in survival stage, it basically means that you're a newish business, maybe been established for a couple of years, and during that period of time, the only thing you're concerned about doing during that period of time is surviving, bringing enough money on what you were on before when you were employed working for someone before, bring enough money into your new business to pay your mortgage, pay your rent, pay your bills, feed you and clothe your kids. That's it. You're in survival mode. But something happens when we get to the end of that survival mode, and that is this. Your reputation starts to grow. Word of mouth marketing kicks in. Maybe a website you've had built starts to generate your leads. But the transition over from you being on your own to stage number 2, which I call busy full stage, write that down, busy full. That transition happens when you got too much work coming in for you. And you naturally then gravitate towards thinking I'm growing my business because I've got too much work on for me. This is amazing. Let me go and take on my first member of staff. This could be an apprentice. This could be a subby. This could be another fitter or engineer employed. It doesn't matter. You're going to bring somebody in. Now, the danger of bringing that person in when you're winging it in your business, like 99.9% of tradesmen do, wing it, is going to cause you no end of problems further down the line. And the reason why I call this stage the busy fool stage is because this is where, in all honesty, most tradesmen and women end up being a busy fool, working stupid hours, robbing Peter to pay Paul, employing the wrong staff, not having the right systems, not understanding the numbers, generating leads from tire kickers and time wasters. Why? Because they've not learnt the skill of building, growing and scaling a real business. All they've done is took more work on, thinking they were growing the business, which means they've had to take more members of staff on to cope with the work, and all that ends up is you become that busy fool. So that's stage 2. Stage number 3, which only a tiny percentage of tradesmen and women will ever reach, is what I call the freedom stage. And this is where you come on things like My Inner Circle, you join our growth club, we work with you to implement all these strategies and stop you from winging it, so you end up becoming time and financially free. Now, when we're time and financially free, we've now got a business that's running like clockwork with other people doing us the work while we enjoy our time and our profits. But in all honesty, there's not many tradesmen or women ever get to freedom stage because they're stuck knee-deep in shit in stage 2, busy fool, and they don't know how to get out of it, and therefore they condition themselves to work the way in which they always work, being a busy fool, and they think that's it. Running a business is being about a busy fool and working long hours and having cash flow problems and generating time wasting and tire kicking leads. No, it's not. That's just being that busy fool with a fixed mindset. What we've got to do is we've got to flip that, and we've got to realise that if we are serious about building, growing, scaling our trades business, we have to learn the skills of how to do it. And we cannot continue to wing it any longer. Now, what I would encourage you all to do is go back at the end of this episode and listen to episode number 2. Because in that training, I go through these 3 critical stages of business growth and give you a lot more context and a lot more information about it. So go and listen to episode 2 if you've never heard that and you don't know about my 3 stages to business growth. And in all honesty, speak to John Howden. And I'm sure John will be honest with you and he'll tell you that, literally 9 months ago, John was that ultimate busy fool. He got the wrong branding, so he was attracting the wrong people to his business. He wasn't generating leads through his website or his SEO. He'd not got any systems put in place in his business, so he was staying up till daft o'clock at night doing his paperwork. He didn't understand the numbers in his business. Now, 9 months later, John's implemented all this lot into his business, and now he's starting to run a real business. He's no longer a busy fool. He's making profit for the least amount of time. Now, the reason why I'm sharing this is we have to avoid stage 2 at all costs. Because if you get into that busy fool stage, and you might be sat there listening to this now going, Craig, it's too late, mate. I'm already in it. And I get that. Most people that we work with are. But it's so much harder to get out of stage 2 when you're knee deep in shit and you're in it. Because not only have you got to learn new strategies to get you out of it, we've now got to go back and start unpicking all the bad habits and all the things that you've implemented and winged into your business. We've got to put them right before we can move on. Are you with me? And one of the biggest factors on why people end up in stage 2 in the first place is purely for that you've got too much work on for you. So therefore you keep employing team. But what you're doing by employing team is you're just increasing your overheads, you're increasing the amount of working hours that you're working and your stress levels, only to potentially get to the end of that financial year and look back at your books and go, well, hang on a minute. I've employed an extra 1, 2, 3 members of staff. We've brought in another van. I've had another team running all year. We've turned over another 300 grand. But when I look at my profit margins, I've only made an extra 25 grand profit for all that extra hard work. And what I'm saying to you is, why do that in the first place? Why not understand the numbers in your business? Let's maximise the profitability that you're making currently before we start taking on more team. Because if we start taking on more team and we're not maximising profitability and we've not got everything else that we need in place, all that's going to happen is that compound effect's going to kick in a negative way and you're going to end up losing money, working more hours and feeling left burnt out. So in the next episode, the next chapter, we're going to be walking through exactly why this happens and the strategy around changing your mindset to thinking, do you know what is right? Why do I keep taking on more staff just because I'm busy when I don't even understand the numbers in my business and I'm not even increasing my profitability? So grab your notepads, grab your pens, and let's get stuck in. Now, let's be honest, because we've all been there. The phone's ringing, the quotes are piling up, customers are chasing you, your team's working flat out, you've got leads still coming in, and therefore you start to think, I need more hands, I need more team. That could be another apprentice, it could be a joiner, plumber, plasterer, sparky, whatever. Because you believe, actually, the more people I have working for me, the more jobs I can do. And the more jobs I can do, the more I'm growing my business. And the more I'm growing my business, the more profit I'm going to be making. And that's logically what we all think. But really, we couldn't be further from the truth. Because that's not how you build and grow and scale a profitable business. That's the quickest way of going into stage number 2, which is that busy, full stage. Because in reality, here's what happens. You take on more staff, and then what starts to happen? Your wage bill goes up. So whether they're busy or not, you've still got their wages to pay. You've still got their pension to pay. You've still got national insurance and tax to pay. Your overheads are going to increase because you need another van. You've got the tax, the insurance, you've got more tools. You've got everything that employing a new member of staff brings, extra training days, all that lot, so your overheads are going up. And then you've got to quote more jobs. You've got to feed the beast that you're starting to build. So your time disappears because you've got twice as many jobs to quote, twice as many jobs to price, twice as much admin to do, twice as much chasing, twice as many mistakes and callbacks to make. And guess what? Who's having to deal with all this? You. And instead of freeing up your time, all that happens is you become busier, and that doesn't necessarily mean you becoming richer and making more profit. And I've been guilty of this more than anyone. You know, back in my day, when I first set up my business back in 1994, I got this vision to have the biggest joinery and construction company in and around Sheffield and Yorkshire. And I wanted my own offices. I wanted a car park with my own name outside of it for my own car parking space. I wanted all these vans on road. I wanted all that. But that was just ego talking. And I set off on this journey to achieve it. And I did. I had all the vans. I had the offices. I had my own car parking space. I had loads of employed staff and subcontractors. I had vans flying around all over. I was chock-a-block with work. I was doing 7 loft conversions at a time. I got work coming out my ears. But were I profitable? No. All I'd done is I created this beast that were out of control, more for ego than anything. And I never understood the numbers in my business. I just presumed the same as what most people do. I can't afford to turn work down. I can't say no to people because I'm a control freak. And therefore, the more people I take on to feed the beast I were building without understanding the numbers in the business, the more of a financial pickle and stress I got myself in. You see, it wasn't until I hit that rock bottom and realised everything that I'd been building, I'd just been winging it. It's when I realised, hang on a minute, I don't need more team, I need more profit. And this is precisely what I was saying to John. Hang on, John. It's great that everything's working and it's great that you've got more leads to go at. But what we don't want to do is just start taking more staff on when we haven't looked at the numbers specifically in your business and looked at how we can get the profit margins up. So we're maximising our profit before we start taking on more staff. Now, we've got to remember is this. In business, there is only two currencies that count. And those two currencies are time and money. When you strip everything back in your business, it all accumulates down to them two numbers. And what I've got a popular saying against my inner circle members is this. What is the quickest, easiest, risk-free way of you making money for the least amount of time? What is the quickest, easiest, risk-free way you making money for the least amount of time? And what I want you to start thinking about is this. You don't necessarily need to have a huge business with loads of members of staff and loads of vans on road. You can quite easily, perhaps for most of you, achieve your own success in your own time and financial freedom by maximising your profitability and keeping things as small and as tight as they need to be. You see, I interview people for my inner circle that are turning over £2 million. And they'll come on a Zoom with me and they'll go, Craig, I'm turning over £2 million and I've got 20 members of staff and I've got this and I've got that and I've got 20 vans on road, and I'm sat there just nodding my head. And then once they finish the ego trip on telling me what they've got, I'll say, right, I understand that, but how much net profit after tax are you making? And they'll go, well. And I'll go, no, well. If you're turning over £2 million, how much net profit after you've paid your tax are you left with? And they're like, 100 grand. And I'm like, what? You're having all that hassle and responsibility of turning over a £2 million company, and you're only making 100 fucking grand. Are you mad? And how many hours are you working as well? Oh, I'm stressed out at max. I'm working 80, 90 hours a week. All right. So it doesn't matter what the turnover of the business is. It doesn't matter how many vans you've got on the road or how many members of staff you've got. What matters is how many hours are you trading every week to make the profit margins that you're making? And then I'll have another Zoom with somebody else and they'll say, Craig, I'm turning over 400 grand. And there's three of us. And I'll say, and how much net profit after tax are you making? And they'll say, 175 grand. And I'll say, and how many hours a week are you working for that? And they'll say, 50. So what would you rather be? The £2 million turnover business with 20 vans on road and 20 members of staff working ridiculous hours to earn 100 grand? Or the smaller business with a smaller turnover and a smaller team, less jobs running, working less hours, but making more profit? And this is something that we've got to get in our heads. Everything comes down to time and money. I personally now don't want massive businesses on paper, because the bigger the business, the more hassle you're going to have. And the more hassle you're going to have is by a team, because when you employ people into your business, particularly if you're not a good, strong, firm leader and you ain't got the rules of the game established, if you bring more staff into your business, I'm telling you now, you're going to have more problems than you've ever had before. So does it not make sense to think, hang on a minute, this actually makes sense? How can I build a business that maximizes profitability without me having to work stupid hours, and I get really lean and really tight with my numbers to achieve it? So what I said to John were this: John, you can right now go and employ another heating engineer, perhaps, and another apprentice to sit in another new van that you're going to have to get. So your overheads are starting to go up. You're going to have to start to generate more leads to feed the beast that you're doing. So the marketing spend may have to go up to keep this team going. So all that's happening is, John, your overheads are going up. Your time's going to go up. Your commitment to your business is going to go up. And you've got to guarantee that that extra team is going to make you a significantly more increased net profit after tax to make it worthwhile. So that's your option one, John, that you can go away and do. And you can do that tomorrow. You can put an advert out tomorrow, can't you, and start advertising for more staff. Or what we could do, John, is we could look at these numbers in your business, get more leaner, and then start to say, with all these leads that we've got coming in, we don't have to take on another team to feed the leads. What we could do is we could cherry pick all these leads that we've got coming in. And then what we could do is we could increase our prices. And we can do that as well tomorrow, John. We can put our prices up tomorrow. So if we put our prices up by, let's say, 15 to 20% tomorrow, yes, we're not going to win as much work, but now we've got vetting forms in place to get rid of the time wasters and the tire kickers. That's only going to leave us with customers that are prepared to pay this increased number, this higher quote, because we vetted them. And if we get enough people coming through that are vetted, and we put our prices up to make that extra profit, then what's going to be easier for John? And the answer is, let's just put us prices up, cherry pick the work that's coming in, make more profit with the same team as we've got now, working the same amount of hours as we're working now, without having to increase his overheads. Or we could leave the prices as they are, and to go and make more profit, employ that extra member of team, but have all that extra time and staff and hassle and grief. Are you with me? And this is precisely what I'm saying to everyone listening to this. Stop jumping to take more staff on just because you're busy. What you've got to do as a business owner is you've got to put your prices up and keep nudging them up. And if we do that, in John's instance, John can make the same amount, if not more profit, with his existing team working the same amount of hours he's doing now by putting his prices up, rather than having all the hassle of having to find another team, increase overheads, price more jobs, do more marketing to make that extra bit of profit. That's what I'm saying. And as long as you can overcome that ego that's inside many of you, because it were inside me, I wanted to look and feel like I was this massive business. And I did, I got there, but I weren't making any money and I was stressed out and I was working 90 hours a week. So what John's going to start to look at now is putting his prices up. But then John said to me, Craig, I put my prices up when you told me to put them up about a month ago, 6 weeks ago, which I did. And I said, and has that made a massive negative difference? And John's like, no, I've put my prices up and I'm still getting work. I'm like, right. So you know it works. So put the prices up again. And then eventually, you'll hit a ceiling point where you start to get a bit of resistance. And you start to get a lot more people saying, I'm not going ahead with you. And your conversion rate as a percentage starts to drop. At that point, you know that you've hit that ceiling point and therefore you can't take your prices any higher than they are now because you won't win work. Are you with me? And I reckon John's probably 1, maybe 2 more steps away from increasing his prices before that actually happens. And if he continues to keep putting them up, he will end up pricing himself out of work. But what he will have done in the meantime is he'll have put his prices up 2, if not 3 times to maximise profitability on jobs before you then go taking on another member of team. And the biggest obstacle, the biggest hurdle in your business to do this is you and your mindset. Because the amount of business owners that have said to me, Craig, I can't put my prices up. And I'm like, why can't you put your prices up? You just fucking put them up. What do you mean you can't put them up? Yeah, but if I put my prices up any more than I am right now, I'm going to be far more than all my competitors. And therefore, I'm not going to win any work. I'm already the highest of high. I'm already one of the most expensive in my area. So if I put them up again, I'm never going to win work. I'm like, bullshit. What do you mean you're never going to win work? Seriously? Of course you'll win work. You've just got to overcome this limiting belief and this mindset that you can't put your prices up because you're being dictated to by your competitors' prices. Is that what you're telling me? And they go, what do you mean? I'll go, well, why can't you put your prices up? Because my competitors are at this. Who gives a crap what your competitors are putting the prices in at? They don't even know how to run a business themselves. They're probably losing more money than you are. So let's forget about what our competitors are doing, because that doesn't even come into the equation. And then people say to me, yeah, but it does. I'm like, it doesn't. We were booked up 9 months in advance. We were the most expensive loft conversion and building company domestic in and around the whole of Sheffield and surrounding areas. But we were booked up 9 months in advance with people paying us deposits for us to do the jobs. Why? Because we got the right branding. We got the right marketing. We got the right systems and the right customer journey, and we blew our competitors out at water when it comes to communication with customers. And if we can find the target market that actually want that service and are prepared to pay a little bit more than what you are with your standard companies, then you're going to get more work. So this is a strategy on how we do this. But for everyone listening to this episode right now, I would strongly encourage you nudging your prices up, even if you just put them up by 5% today. Your customers are probably not going to bat an eyelid. And then you put them up another 5%. So now maybe within the next 6 weeks, you've put them up 10%. And if nobody bats an eyelid, you put them up again. Because in business, this is not about being unethical. This is not about ripping people off or anything like that. I'm not saying that. But in business, from the 30,000 trades business owners I've worked with since 2012, you're not charging enough. You're hardly breaking profit. And you're not in business to be a charity case to everyone. You've got to make profit. That's the whole part of having a business, to make net profit. So my first lesson to you is change your mindset, put your prices up before you start considering employing another member of staff. Now, in this chapter, I'm going to giving you 4 different areas of business that you've got to work on as you continue to increase your prices. Because what we can't do is we can't offer the service that we're currently offering now without improving it if we're going to continuously increase our prices. Or otherwise, you end up with a disconnect between the service and the experience that you are offering to your customers based on your price. In other words, if you go into a shop like Poundland For example, no disrespect or anything like that, I'm just using it as an example. If you go into Poundland, you expect everything to be cheap, right? Everything about the brand, everything is going to be cheap. So if you've got, let's say, a Poundland type of business at the minute whereby you're not established or you've neglected some areas of your business and you start charging top dollar, there's a disconnect. So as we start to increase our prices that we can continuously do until we hit a ceiling point, there's 4 areas of business that we've got to improve along with it to make sure that the offering of customer journey and experience and everything that we're providing for our customers actually warrants and is worth the price that they're actually paying. Because the last thing you want is getting 1-star reviews from customers saying, you know, it cost me all this money, but the customer experience and the communication and everything were really, really poor. We can't afford to do that. So as we increase our prices, we increase our customer experience and we wow our customers so they know that the money that they've invested in paying that extra little bit has been well worth it. Now, to do this, I'm going to give you some other podcast episodes because I've gone into great detail on episodes that have already been released that will give you the exact strategies to these 4 areas. So I'm going to mention each 4 area. I'm going to give you a quick overview of it. And then I'm going to give you some podcast episodes that you need to go away and listen to that will give you the entire strategy. So again, please make sure that you're making some notes. Area number 1 that we need to improve is called branding, right? It's your branding. Because within your business, there are 3 different types of brand, right? Number 1 is what we call your business brand, which is basically your company name, your logo, your strapline, your fonts, your colours that come together to create your branding. Now, your business brand. Now, the reason why this is important and why I'm highlighting this is for this reason. Most business owners think they've got a great brand. And they've had it for years and they'll never want to change it because all their customers know their business and they know of this brand and they're never going to change it. But what we don't realise is as our business starts to grow and morph and as you start to grow and morph as a business owner, the direction of our business usually ends up taking a different turn to where it was on day 1. So when you set your business up on day 1 with a shoestring budget and no experience in marketing, and you cobble together this name that's now going to see you through for the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years, during that growth period, your business is going to change direction. You might start bolting on other products or services into that business. A great example is John. When John started with us 9 months ago, John was just doing plumbing and a bit of boiler work. Now, all he's doing is boiler work, heat pumps and renewables. Why? Because we've rebranded him. We've rebranded him from a company that used his own personal name that made him look small to Yorkshire Heating and Renewables. I mean, the name says it all on the tin, doesn't it? So John's now got the brand that it's still the same guy doing the same fitting, but the overall identity of his business has been put on steroids and it's enhanced and it's far superior to what he had before and far superior to all his competitors in and around his area. He's got the right business brand. You can't charge high prices if your brand looks cheap and tacky and makes you look like a one-person band and where you were when you set up on day 1. Your brand has got to make you look like where you are going in the next 10, 15, 20 years. Do you get me? Number 2 in branding is your personal brand, is you individually. Because people aren't buying necessarily from your logo that gets out of your van. when you go to do a survey. Your logo don't jump out of your van and knock on a customer's door to do a survey. You do. So your personal brand, on your website, photography, on your videos, and how you are coming across to your target market, because they're buying from you. Your customers buy from you, not your logo. The logo is the brand identity, but they're buying technically from you. So what about your personal branding? And how have you brought that into your business? Again, John's done that. You go on John's new website, you look at his videos on his website, he's on all the videos, he's got photos of him and his team on his website. He's not a faceless company anymore. Everybody knows who John is. And the third brand that we need to pull together is what we call our brand authority. And what I mean by the brand authority is, how can we take the business brand and the personal brand and connect the two together to build a far superior brand authority and credibility with your future customers than what you're doing now? So how do we create that brand authority? How do you get more 5-star reviews than everyone else? How do you get case studies on your website? How do you get more video testimonials than your website? How can you win awards? How can all that lot be displayed as authority? So when people then look at your brand, it's like, wow, look at this company. Look how professional they look. And oh, I know John now because he's on all his videos. He's on images on his website. And I know John because he's got more reviews than anybody else. And his authority's building. And he's got video testimonials of his happy customers and clients telling the world how amazing John and his business is. So we've got to build that brand, because you can't offer high prices with a cheap brand. So if you want to know more about the strategies around those 3 brands, I want you to go and listen to the following 3 episodes. Episode number 20, episode 57, and episode 66. That's 20, 57, and 66. Because in those 3 episodes, I cover off in detail and the strategy around how you need to pull them brands together, because that's the first thing. Because remember, whatever you position or put in front of a potential customer, rightly or wrongly, they're going to make a judgment call based on you and your business by the content you put in front of them. Now, that content in their minds could look cheap, nasty, and tacky. You don't think it does, but you're not buying from you. Your customers are buying from you. You think your brand's amazing, but honestly, 8 out of 10 brands that we look at and we rebrand, they're awful. But they've never seen it. It's never been spelled out to them the way in which I'm spelling it out in these 3 episodes. So check out 20, 57, and 66. Area number 2 that you need to improve and work on is your marketing strategy and the customer journey. And what I mean by this is, listen, if we're going to be putting prices up to attract better quality customers to us that are prepared to pay that extra for that quality job, then we need to be looking at identifying who our target market really is and how can we find him in the highest concentration. Because a lot of the leads that you'll be getting in are from time wasters and tire kickers that want the job doing for nothing and they want it doing yesterday. Or you've priced the job and they completely ghost you because your price were probably more than they wanted to pay. And this is all because you don't know who the target market is. Because not everybody, you don't want to appeal to everyone, do you? You don't want to be getting leads in from any Tom, Dick and Harry. You only want to be getting the leads in for the people that appreciate the quality that you bring and the customer service that you offer. And the only way you're going to do that is by identifying who that target market really is. Now, the episode that I'm going to give you specifically to identify these target market is episode number 11. Episode number 11. And in there, I cover off the 9 characteristics to your B2B. In other words, if you're selling to the domestic market, B2C, that is your domestic market, business to consumer, and B2B is business to business. So that might be a commercial or your industrial, right, market. However, there's still 9 characteristics that you need to identify and work out to determine who is that bullseye target market that can afford our product or service. Now, once we've attracted that target market to our business, we have to send the potential traffic back to what I call the ultimate sales tools. And your ultimate sales tools, just write these 3 things down. Number 1 is your website. Number 2 is a landing page. And number 3 is a funnel. So once we've attracted that customer to our business, we've got to send them somewhere. We've got to send that traffic somewhere. Where we send it, website, landing page, or funnel. Now, I'm pretty sure that everybody knows what a website is, but there's not many people understand a landing page or a funnel strategy. So what I want you to do is go and check out episode number 30, because in episode 30, I cover off what is a website and how we should use it, what is a landing page strategy and what is a funnel strategy. And I'll lay them out for you, super simple, so you can choose out of those 3 where you're going to send the traffic back to. Is it a website? Is it a landing page? Is it a funnel? Or the ultimate is you build all 3. But in essence, when we get them back there, that's where they're going to find out all the information about us as a business, the products and services that we offer. And this is where we start to build that authority that we've just talked about in your branding. Because this is where they get to see your business brand, your personal brand, and that brand authority that pulls everything together. So that's episode number 30. Now, it's all right driving traffic back to one of these 3 ultimate sales tools, but that's still not generated a lead just yet, has it? So what we need to do is we need to send the traffic that lands on the website, the website, landing page or funnel back to a vetting form. Please tell me you're using vetting forms, because if you're not, you're just going to be attracting any Tom, Dick and Harry. They're not pre-vetted. You're going to end up wasting all your time and your effort communicating, travelling out to look at a job, surveying that job, travelling back, pricing job, sending price off to what? Get ghosted. I mean, how crazy is that you're giving up your valuable time to price jobs for people that aren't even vetted? You don't even know whether they've got the budget or the time scales fit. So what I'm going to be asking you to do is to create a vetting form to replace them time wasters and tire kickers. And the strategy of around you create that vetting form, I've put into episode number 36. And in episode 36, I cover off what is a vetting form, why you need it, and what information goes into a vetting form, i.e. the questions, and how do you build one. All that lot is in episode number 36. So if you think about what we're doing now, team, we're now building the ultimate brand. We're now driving traffic back to the ultimate website, landing page, or funnel. They're going to get all the information that they need from us, and we're going to look the absolute dogs and blow our competitors out of the water based on the content that we've got on these ultimate sales tools. And then what we're going to do is we're not just going to get a contact us form enquiry through. We're going to send all that traffic then into a vetting form to get rid of all the time wasters and all the tire kickers, only leaving you with pre-vetted leads. Area number 3 that you're going to focus on is your systems and your automations. Because at this point, we've generated a new vetted lead. But if your communication between you and your customer is hit and miss, or it's all being done manually, so you're sending manual emails, manual text messages, manual WhatsApps, manual quotes, and you're having to rely on you remembering to do all that, then you're going to drop the ball, and therefore you've not offered the experience that you're promising that you're going to deliver. So to do all this and bring this customer journey into one automated system that does all of these manual tasks for you, you're going to need some software and systems and automations that are built out. Now, to do this, I'm going to recommend 2 types of software. And then I'm going to give you some podcast episodes that will go into these in more detail. Number 1, the first piece of software I'm going to recommend is Leadzilla. It's called Leadzilla. It's what we use. It's what we recommend to all of our Inner Circle and Growth Club members. And this is going to take care of everything from that lead coming into your business to automating emails and text messages and understanding where that customer is now on that customer journey. So you can see at a glance where they are at, what stage of that process they're on. In other words, have they automatically booked in a survey themselves that's triggered an email and text off to them and a reminder email and text? And if it's done that, we need to be able to see them in the pipeline on whereabouts they are. Or it may well be that you've been out and, in John's case, he's gone out and he's done a quote for a boiler installation. Now, John doesn't have to wait 2 or 3 days until he's got the time to do a quote, because by using the software that we've given him, he can walk onto a job, price a job in a customer's house there and then. The customer gets an email and a text message with their proposal and quote in, and the opportunity to get it booked in for an installation by them paying a deposit and signing terms and conditions there and then. Now we're cooking. Now we're talking great customer service. I mean, come on. Why should any trades person take days to get back to someone with a quote in today's day and age when you can quote a job there and then? Are you with me? All this lot is wowing your customers. How your customer can receive a text message from GPS that when your van is on the way to the job and it's a certain mileage away from the job, it triggers an automated text message to customers saying, hey, John's 3.7 miles away. He's going to be 10 minutes, 12 seconds. You know, here's a video of John who's turning up on the day. All that lot is the systems that you need in your business to deal with the leads coming in and the sales in your business. But then when we get the job and we've won it, that information then gets transferred into another piece of software called ServiceMate. And this then picks up the job management and the running of the job and organises your team, organises your labour, it can order materials for you, it communicates with your customers, and all this is done automatically, saving you hours and hours a day on doing admin work that can be systemised and automated into Leadzilla and ServiceMate. Now, when you start to put that level of wow factor into your customer journey, where every single one of your customers experiences like a 10-star experience every time, then will people be prepared to accept a quote that's higher than the other two prices? Why? Because you've demonstrated everything so far with your branding, with your website, with the authority, with more reviews, with the video testimonials, with the automated system that's triggering emails and texts and reminders off to that customer, and pricing a job there and then. Compared to the other person where there's no communication, you can now demonstrate why you are more expensive than everybody else, and therefore the customer understands it. But all along, you know that this customer's got the budget anyway because they've been through your vetting forms. So the 2 episodes that I'm going to suggest that you listen to help you with the systems is episode number 42, because in episode 42, I teach you how to build this customer journey to attract and convert and even retain more of your customers. So that's episode 42. And then I'd like you to go and watch an episode 64, episode 64, because this is how to systemize and automate your entire business using ServiceMate. And I interviewed Jamie Curtin, who's a gold certified ServiceMate partner. He's the expert when it comes to ServiceMate. He's built, grown, sold his own plumbing and heating business, and now he helps other trades business owners, every single trade imaginable, to do the same using ServiceMate. So go and check out episode number 64. But remember, if we're going to charge more money than our competitors, that customer experience and that journey, you have got to wow them, blow them away, and make your competitors look as amateurish as they are. So all of a sudden, you've put a huge gap between the winging it, dodgy communication, I'm a busy fool competitor, compared to you that's slick, systemized, automated. You've put a big distance between you, right? And that then reflects in the distance between their price and your price with that potential customer. Area number 4 is what the entire episode is around, and that is finances. How can we positively increase our prices so we can start to make more gross and net profit? And here lies the biggest challenge you've got with this. And I'm going to come back to another one of my popular phrases, if you like. And you'll have heard me say this a million times before. But just write this down word for word, honestly. The business is never the problem. The problem is always the mindset of the business owner. Let me say it again. The business is never the problem. The problem is always the mindset of the business owner. And what I mean by that is, with respect, and I really do mean this, with respect, any challenges that you're facing in your business right now, it's not your business's fault. It's your fault. And I know that's like a bit of tough love, but it's true. Because whatever stage you're at now in your business or life journey, you're there based on decisions that you've made. And yeah, I get people have bad luck and all this stuff. I get that, albeit I think you make your own luck. And I get that to a certain extent. But anyone can change the circumstances that they're in business and life. And I know that because I've done it. I've been at rock bottom. I lost everything and I am where I am today. But to do that, I had a shift in mindset. So the reason why I'm saying to you is the business is not the problem you are, is when it comes to your numbers, one of the areas of business that we know, having worked with 30,000 tradesmen and women since 2012, is a very, very tiny percentage of people understand the numbers. And don't you think it's crazy that we're in business to make profit. I'm not on about ripping people off or being unethical. I'm not saying that. You can't get away from the fact that if you're running a business, you've got to make profit. Because if you're not making profit or you're breaking even, what's the point? The whole part of running a business is for you, I would thought, to earn more money than you've earned before, so you can start enjoying the money and the time that you've got back with yourself, with your family, with your loved ones, with your friends. Come on, that's what it's all about, right? And I'm not here to say to anyone, you've got to turn over this amount of money and you've got to earn this amount of profit to become successful. Everybody wants different things. That comes down to their purpose and their why, right? But nevertheless, if we're in the business of making profit, surely to God, we've got to understand the numbers in his business. It's the first rule of thumb, innit? But we don't. And most people do not know how to price a job correctly. They'll just take the labour, they'll just take the material, they'll chuck a little bit on top for a drink or a bit of profit, and they think that's how you run a business. They think that's how you price a job. And if you're winging it with your numbers, I absolutely guarantee you're going to end up at some point suffering from negative cash flow problems. And trust me, as someone who's been there for 12 long, hard years, I struggled, I were in debt, I had cash flow problems. I'll tell you now, it's the most worried and the sleepless nights that I used to have worrying about not having money, it's absolutely crippling. But it doesn't have to be that way. All you need to do is learn the numbers. Now, to do this, I'm going to recommend 3 different podcast episodes. And I want you to do these 3 and get top side of these numbers, because nothing in your business is going to change until you understand what these are. The first episode is episode number 14. Number 14. And in here, I teach you how to structure your payment terms, right, to avoid negative cash flow problems. And the reason why I'm highlighting this episode is you could still be making profit and really high profits, but if your payment terms or your cash flow is negative, you're still going to experience cash flow problems, because technically you've got money going out of your bank quicker than you've got coming in. Even though you might be making profit on that job, if you've got more money going out than you've got coming in because your payment terms are screwed, then you're going to have problems. You're going to have sleepless nights, even though you're making profit. So go and check out episode number 14. And first of all, get your payment terms and your positive cash flow working in your favour. Then I want you to go and listen to episode number 61. And in episode 61, I'm chatting with Julie Robinson, who's an expert when it comes to numbers in businesses, right? And we lay out how to stop overpaying on taxes and start to increase your profit margins by understanding the numbers. So that's episode number 61. Then I want you to listen to episode number 63. Because in episode 63, I go through how to correctly calculate your hourly rates and how to price jobs the right way. Because for most of you, you won't be calculating your hourly rates correctly, which means when you're pricing a job, you're already on the back foot because you're not allowing enough in your hourly rates. I teach you how to price a job correctly using your labour, your materials, your markup, your overheads, your gross profit, your net profit after tax. All these numbers you should understand. And if you don't understand them and you're just going from job to job to job to job and keeping your fingers crossed and hoping and praying that you've priced that job correctly, and after everything's paid off, there's enough money left for you, that's not a business. That's a busy fool. So how to correctly calculate your hourly rates and price jobs is episode number 63. And those are the 4 areas that whilst we're consistently increasing our prices, we've got to consistently improve these 4 areas. Also, otherwise, like I've said, you end up charging high prices and top dollar with a cheap brand, attracting time wasters and tire kickers, doing everything manually and having poor communication, and then on top of all that, not making any profit because you don't understand your numbers. So what I want you to take away from this episode is literally this. I'm so pleased that you're generating leads, and you might be in a position where you therefore think, I need to bring in more staff, because logically you think that you're growing your business. But we don't want to take on any more staff until we've now increased the profitability that we're doing on our existing jobs, so we can leverage the team that we've got and the time that we're investing into that team to its maximum profitability before we start then taking on more staff, because we know that when we take on more staff, usually it means that your hours are going to increase and you're going to end up with problems or grief further down the line. But also remember, it's not just about sticking your prices up if we're not going to improve the 4 areas that we've just run through, because those 4 areas tie hand in glove with what customers are thinking and feeling when they're getting a price off you. So if you want to reverse roles and do it this way, and you go through a scenario where a customer has seen some content of yours on social media and it's wowed them. They've clicked that link in that social media post and they've now gone over to, let's say, your website. And on your website, your branding's incredible. It's got your business brand on there that wows them and don't look like a cheap one-man band business. They've got the branding's right, the authority's right, the credibility's right, the social proof and the testimonials and the reviews are right, which is all building up confidence with that potential customer. We then send them over to that vetting form where they answer a series of questions and they go through that, and then you realise then that this customer has got the budget. They are in the timescales that we've got. You then put them into your automated system, which is triggering emails and text messages and video testimonials off to them, all on autopilot. And you know you're going to make profit because you've understood the numbers in your business and you're pricing jobs correctly now, looking at gross and net profit margins. Now, when you do that and you wow your customers, you can afford to be more expensive than everybody else, right? So therefore, if that's the right target market as a customer and everything ticks their boxes and you've made them feel super special and wowed them, then they will go with you over and above the business that has got a cheap brand with a cheap price, with terrible communication, where they've had to wait 3 days to get a price back, where the quote's gone in looking like it's been done on the back of a fag packet, the communication's awful. Who would you go with? Ask yourself, out of them 2 scenarios, who would you go with? And I'm guessing you go with the one that's more expensive because they've demonstrated the reason why they're more expensive. So what we've got to start to do is, yes, we've got to put the prices up, but at the same time, we can't just put the prices up. We are increasing these 4 areas because combined, this is what it's going to take. And this is the exact journey John's on. We've just done the branding with John. We've just done all his website and his marketing and his vetting forms with John. We've just built ServiceMate out with John. And now we're starting to look at the numbers with John. Now, John doesn't have to take on another team because now he can make more money with the team and the time he's already got and maximise his profitability before he then goes and takes on another team. And I really want you to take this on board, because the business is not the problem. You're the problem in the business. And if you're going to listen to this and go, oh, that all right, that sounds good for you and John Craig, but I can't do that. Of course you can do it. It just takes a mindset shift. I mean, come on, if you're in busy fool stage now and you know you're in, keeping the same approach and doing what you're doing day in, day out, that's not generating you the results you want, nothing's going to miraculously change unless you change your approach and you change your strategy. And in this episode and all the other episodes and in our growth club and our inner circle or even in our free Facebook group, you're going to get all that help and support that you need to get your business to where it wants to be and in actually what you deserve. And if you're not a member of our free Trades Freedom Club Facebook group and community, click the link in the show notes and description and come and join us. If you want to take it to a next level and you want to come and join our Growth Club and get the live weekly coaching and all the training inside there and the community and our events calendar, again, the link's in the show notes. Finally, if you do want to apply for the Inner Circle, click the link in the show notes and come and apply for the Inner Circle that's starting in the next couple of months. And remember, for things to change, you have to change, or all you'll ever have in your pocket is change. I'll catch up with you on next week's episode, and I'll meet you at the top. Thank you.